there's a victim of gender-based violence and they have difficulty with how to report the case, but they also would have nowhere to stay if they report the case to the police and if this matter is pursued. We provide temporary shelters for them to also give them training opportunities. Some of the women who are survivors of GBV come out of those establishments with the skills that they're able to take charge of their own lives. So that's the focus of the green doors, for providing immediate safety, but also to provide an opportunity to recover, many women to recover. Many of them also undergo training opportunities to equip them with the skills that they can set up their own businesses. So this is a very important program. We also have established what we call the war room on gender-based violence in Gauteng. That war room is made up of both government, especially law enforcement officials in government who are driving this program, but we also bring NPOs, we bring NGOs, we bring civil society groups in that war. All the organizations that activists who are essentially whose daily work every day, across the province is on gender-based violence. We bring them into the war room on gender-based violence to deal with these issues. But the emphasis of our program for the month really is, on the one hand, we have a pandemic, gender-based violence. It must be confronted, and we must direct the resources, all the resources we have. On the other hand, we say to deal with the pandemic and to deal with gender-based violence and deal with patriarchy, we must invest in empowering women. And that can be at the end of the value chain. We must start from the beginning with the girl children, the way we raise our boys, including that the boys themselves must not be left out. We've got sometimes a problem where the people who become a problem in society, if our boy children are not themselves supported to succeed, they'll end up in drugs, they end up in all type of crimes, and they become the key drivers of gender-based violence. And so we focus on that. So that's with regard to our Women's Month programs. That's what we are doing as a province. On the 1st of September, we will be in Kagiso. We're bringing businesses in the West Rand into a township economy fair, all type of businesses across the West Rand. But amongst those businesses, we want to see women who are in every sector of the economy, for them to succeed, for them to be supported. The second issue that I would like to brief you on is on dealing with crime. Here in Gauteng, in July and August, we have seen a spate of shootings across the different communities in Gauteng. Shootings where the killers in many of these areas at the taverns, where the killers have also used high caliber firearms, rifles. And in those shootings, in many of them where 4 people were killed, in total we have 35 people who were killed in total, 35 people were killed, and 32 were injured. In many of them, where people were shot indiscriminately as they were hanging around in an area, nothing was taken from them. There may be 1 or 2 instances where something was taken, but in many of those instances, people were shot at indiscriminately using high caliber weapons. We know the police have arrested. I was dealing with the question in the legislature on this today. The police have arrested 17 of the suspects, but we still have a lot of suspects who are being chased. The police are tracking them down. I said earlier in the legislature that one of those cases includes, we know the suspects for the Alexandra case were arrested. We know the suspects for the case of Gauteng were arrested. 2 there, Alexandra is 13. We know the suspect for the CBD shooting that took place in the Johannesburg CBD, the suspect was arrested. But we know there's other suspects. And Mamelodi is one suspect, is still on the run. In Mabopane, The suspect is still on the run. In Tembelihle, where 4 people were killed, and we went there in the middle of the night. We were doing anti-crime operations in Alexandra, and we were called that people have just been shot with high-caliber weapons. They were just hanging around at a place that's legally operating. This is an establishment where alcohol is sold, but it's a legal establishment. People were shot with high-caliber weapons and killed there, and nothing was taken from them. Those killers are still on the run. We also know in Orlando, at Nomzamo, people were killed, shot and killed there with high-caliber weapons. The killers did not take anything. But I want to say to you that I did report to the legislature today that the police have identified the killers of the Nomzamo case. And these are people who have left the country. They have tagged them to one of the countries in the SADC region. And the police are working, the police in Gauteng are working with the authorities in that affected country to bring those killers back here, because we need them here to face the might of the law. We need these killers here. We also want to understand why did they carry out this dastardly act of killing people who were, as I said, these are adults, by law allowed in an establishment that was licensed. They were just enjoying themselves. We also have a big concern around illegal mining and the crime that's happening around the communities where these illegal mines are. From the east, in Ekurhuleni, in Springs area in Benoni, there are settlements around the illegal mines. There are no-go areas, those settlements. Every night there are guns, there are gunshots there. So these are armed gangs, basically. That's what we call them, armed gangs. In some of those areas where when we're doing Ukaimula with the police basically clearly said to me and MEC Mazibuko, that place, people are, in that area, those people are armed to teeth. We know that there's been there are women who were raped in Kagiso. Again, is an incident linked to illegal mining activity. And there's also a lot of criminal activity happening in areas like Rodiport, around those mines, Rivali, around where these mines are. Lots of illegal, not just illegal mining, but there's clear violent crime where people are attacked, they are shot and killed, they are robbed. Along this illegal mining belt, there are other criminal activities that are happening there. And we are clear, and the police have confirmed this, that these criminal activities are carried out by organized and armed groups. And it is for that reason that we have clearly said that the South African police alone are not coping with particularly these armed criminals that are terrorizing our communities. There's absolute fear from the east to the west of our province, the north to the south. There's fear in communities. On Women's Day, women made it very clear to me that they are, not just those who go to taverns are fearful and afraid, but even those who just walk in the communities that say, when sunset comes, we are very fearful that there will be a car that would come and then people are going to be shot. So there is fear across the different parts of our province. But the criminals who are carrying out this dastardly acts are heavily armed and may we also say well trained. And that is why it's very important that the police are doing what they are doing to trace those who they have identified them, and they're now tracking them from the country of their origin where they have run back to with the authorities. So there is a relationship between this violent crime, illegal weapons being used in the violent crime, killings of people, indiscriminate shootings, as well as illegal mining that is taking place. There are syndicates. We have said to the police, they must also go for there are main guys at the top. So there are illegal miners who go underground, who are toiling there, but there are also main gangs, white-collar criminals who are sitting in offices, in head offices of these organized gangs, who pay them, and who, after they have stripped, they're not just taking out precious metals, but they are stripping infrastructure. One of the things the police said to us is the infrastructure, that all mining, deep mining activity, there's been a lot of investment of infrastructure capital. The shafts which were sunk in there to enable mining are pieces of, they're stripping those, some of that is steel, some of it is, the equipment there is made of different pieces. They are stripping that. So one of the real dangers with those mines is that they can collapse. In an area here not far, just in Rodiport, just in Rivoli, the illegal miners are also doing some dangerous things. So we've got a pipeline, a gas pipeline there. That's an underground gas pipeline. Their illegal mining activity poses a real threat. In fact, we've got a gas pipeline, and where is Digela? He has been there. And the communities there say to us every day they're really concerned that those illegal mining activities can lead to a major disaster of an explosion there. So it is criminal activity that's blatant about illegal mining, but it's also, they are taking this criminal activity in the neighboring areas. It is well known where they are settled. And I think we're quite clear that we need the help. Previously, the police have worked with the South African National Defence Force when we've got a serious problem. They have been joint operations, not just during COVID, but what used to be called Operation Fiela was joint operations between the Defence Force and the police services in our country, when they have identified that what they are dealing with essentially is a national security risk. We believe very strongly that what we are dealing with is a national security risk. So that is on the question of crime. On the issues of lifestyle audits, today I answered the question in the legislature. The Gauteng Provincial Executive Committee, members of our executive committee in Gauteng, have been undergoing lifestyle audits. We are at a point where we have now made a choice that we actually want what I explained as gold standards. We want the not just the work, the agency has done its work about verifying assets, confirming incomes of people, but we want them to conclude this with what we call the gold standard, that our members of the executive committee will go through a process that will enable them to get a full top secret security clearance, having done that. That's very important because we think, having started, we are a province amongst we're two provinces that have done this lifestyle audits in the way President Ramaphosa has prescribed. That's Gauteng and the Eastern Cape. The Western Cape did it differently. They appointed a private company. But we want, so the end process of this is that all the MECs will also do a polygraph test. That's the final end of the process. Everything else has been done. The State Security Agency has completed the work they have done. The polygraph test is very important for us. It's what we call the gold standard. In other words, after doing everything else, we want, as the Gauteng Provincial Executive Committee, to set a precedent that in fact, even before people are appointed in the executive committee, they must undergo lifestyle audits that does all the full assessments of their income and assets, and that but also to assess the fullness of their competence as people who are going to. It is done in other countries, as you may know. So this gold standard, what we say. So what they have done so far, we feel it is not. It's a basic thing. I called it in the legislature as minimum. Checking the assets of people and their incomes. It's minimum, including, but we want a full gold standard, the highest of which will be that they will be issued with the top secret security clearance, which is not about, it's not about only about security related issues. Is that the people who are in these offices have absolutely no question about their integrity, and to uphold that higher standard of ethics. So we were the first, together with the Eastern Cape, to use this process. So I reported in the legislature today that the state security, after all the MECs voluntarily said, we want the highest. We have completed this, but we want the highest, what I call the gold standard of having gone through the lifestyle audits, because you don't want somebody later to find that someone, like we have seen in another province, where someone later's qualifications were questioned, but they had gone through some lifestyle audit and that was not picked. That's why we want the gold standard of everything. It includes qualifications. If you claim you have these qualifications, they will be verified. It includes if you are involved in any crime, for that matter. It's not just income and expenditure. It's not just whether you have a conflict of interest, but are you involved in any criminal activity? That's the gold standard. You're not involved. So it includes checking tax compliance. Are you paying your tax? So that's the gold standard. When that is, so the State Security Agency has done that. The only thing that they are going to be completing is a polygraph test that they are doing. They are scheduling them in September. And I was reporting to the legislature that we are setting the highest standard possible. And it's worth, given where our country is in dealing with the challenges of corruption, the challenges of malfeasance, given where our country is, it's worth a standard setting for ourselves, the gold standard of it all, that must go through the highest possible, not just what the officials have gone through, that the political leadership, as I say, just verifying assets and income and expenditure, it's not good enough. That has been done. It's the minimum. We want to be sure that the leadership that is leading our province. So that part is the scheduling of the polygraph test is something that the State Security Company is doing with our MECs, and they did say that in September they will be done. The last issue I want to talk to is the Department of Health. You know that we have taken a decision through proper government processes in the department, with the support of the Office of the Premier, in accordance with the law, to put on precautionary suspension the CEO, firstly the CFO, and these decisions were taken in accordance with the law. Is the head of department who acts to suspend the officials that immediately report to her. But it is something that we are very serious. The allegations that have been leveled against the CFO and the CEO of Tembisa are serious enough that they have been referred to the Special Investigating Unit. And in our view, the Special Investigating Unit in the Republic has been doing the kind of work that really leads to consequence management. There's no swifter action we could effect. They've dealt with many of these corruption cases, PPE cases, and last week they through government processes, proper government processes, this matter was referred to them. We are very, very concerned about these allegations and how they have a bearing on the case of our outstanding public servant who perished by standing up, by being upright. Ms. Babita Deokaran was taken out by organized crime. And as far as we are concerned, earlier on we're talking about these organized gangsters who are involved in illegal mining and other crimes. Corruption is also organized crime. You have people there who will stop at nothing to try and intimidate and take out those officials who stand up for the right thing. And for that reason, we want to ensure that there's protection of witnesses. There's only so much that can be done. I reported last week already that our head of department was sent threats through an email. The police are attending to her safety and security as a matter of priority. And we have since had several officials, even on that matter, coming forward to say that they would like the investigators to look at things that they will advise, but they need protection too. So the protection of witnesses and whistleblowers is extremely important in the fight against crime. And we're not going to back down. The Department of Health was in the forefront of the PPE scandal. Every step we make there, if in the process we find that even the new people who are appointed, they themselves get linked to new acts or allegations or acts of malfeasance, those matters will be dealt with, and it's important that we also follow the law. I saw the statement from the unions. One of the reasons that took us a bit of time, we wanted to make sure that when action is taken, especially is taken by the right authority, and secondly, every process has been followed. Because we know there's a need to act, but there's also a need to act in accordance with the law. You don't want to suspend people only to come to find that that process was not undertaken with the law. That's the point, is to act against wrongdoing. It's not to be seen just to be acting, to act against wrongdoing. And finding a balance, ensuring that when action is taken, every ground is covered. It's always the issue. There's always tension there. Did you act too late? Did you act fast enough? And in our experience with all the cases we have dealt with the SIU, when we have acted in accordance with the law, by the time the SIU enables us to bring disciplinary processes, and then matters also end up in the tribunal, in the special tribunal, those processes guarantee us that there will be a positive outcome for government, for the state. So we must always act swiftly, but we must make sure that we have covered all the ground. Otherwise, officials will technically go and walk scot-free, and basically on technical ground that proper processes were not followed. So those are the 4 issues we want to brief you on. We are very keen to can hear from you on any questions, even outside the 4.
No, thank you very much, Premier, for that comprehensive brief around the environment in Gauteng, what has been affecting the government as well as the people of Gauteng. So colleagues, I will allow you to ask questions. Just say your name and where you are, where you come from, and then you can then proceed with the question. Let me start left. Channel number 1, number 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's take the first set of questions. Premier, that's one.
On the issue of Thembisa's suspension of the CEO, the union said that it didn't consult them before putting the CEO on precautionary suspension, and they also requested that they would like to have a meeting with the 7 days. Are you going to honor that, or are you just going to let it pass? And on the issue of the 60 people who were killed in Nomzamo, you mentioned that those who are suspect are outside the country, in one of the SADC countries. Do you need request of Interpol, or South African police have the power to actually go and take them from them?
Okay, number two.
Can I deal with them one by one,
Oh, okay, that's fine to me.
if you allow me, so that instead of allowing all the
Oh, okay.
The law does not require that we should consult the unions when we have to suspend an employee. The employer is guided by the law, has the full authority. These matters are regulated by law, so we don't have to consult the unions if we think there is for a precautionary suspension or even a full suspension. We follow the law. I certainly know that the MEC did brief me that the unions firstly wanted her and the HOD to meet with them last week to discuss the matters. And she said to me that their advice was that they can't discuss the matters that are under consideration by the department because I need to indicate that the authority to suspend the officials here is the Department of Health, and that's I'm keen to meet with the unions. I do that quite often, but when we meet with the unions, we don't meet with the unions to discuss. There's a lot of issues we meet to discuss with the unions. We've got particularly the MEC, who's responsible for coordinating work of government and relations with labor, MEC Mamabulo. There's always meetings with unions between the provincial government. Sometimes the MECs also ask MEC Mamabulo. Sometimes the unions ask me. I've met with the unions on health many times. Sometimes it's physical meetings. Other times it's just talking with the union leaders on issues. So there is no problem. We want to work with the unions to support the work of our institutions of serving our communities. But I want to say to you that there's no union that can stop us from taking action. If there are serious matters that require the law enforcement or investigation units to look at, and also that there's a need for precautionary suspension, that's all we will look at. We want to build strong unions with strong relations with unions also in fighting against corruption. That's what we want to do, but there's no union that can really stop us from taking action when we believe there must be an investigation here, and that these officials who are in the front line must be put on precautionary suspension. There's no union that will stop us from doing that. The SADC, I need to say that actually the South African Police Service, I was briefed by the provincial commissioner that they are working with the relevant authorities together. They are also working with Interpol. You know how this thing works. So they will follow the necessary point. All I want the people of Gauteng to know is that the police are tracking down the killers. Wherever they try and hide, if the killers come from a neighboring country, or they come from another country, not just in the continent. On each of these cases, the police are tracking them down. That's what we have said. Track the killers down. We need to bring them to book. They must account for their actions. We need to stop them on their tracks, because when they are arrested, we know. As long as they are out there, we don't know what we are dealing with. We don't know which community will be next. So yes, they are working in accordance with the protocols, the international protocols and the SADC protocols. So that we can Silva, that we can go to the next set of questions.
You're fine.
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Okay, great stuff. Sisse?
The union.
Next to you, panel. Yeah?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry. Okay, I just wanted to ask about the polygraph test. So they're starting in September. What type of questions will the officials be asked? I'm very curious, like what type of questions do you know how to pick up Also, you've already said that you checked some of their details already, some of the lifestyle audits have been done. Has there anything been picked up? Has any officials been flagged as troublemaking or having suspicious activity? Also, another thing is, would the Premier consider extending these audits?
No, proceed. I'll remind you.
Okay. Premier, I just wanted to know, would you consider extending the audits to other officials? Because we know that in the past, people involved in corruption were not only MEPs and people higher up, also people who work in the government departments. So, would you consider extending it within the department, people who are higher up who deal with these services? And then the last question is, you said that there's been some officials within your department that have asked for security protection. How many of these officials have been given this protection, and for what type of reasons have they flagged concerns and wanting to get protection? Yeah, thank you.
And you are from who? From where?
Uzinhle from Youth Reform.
Okay, thanks, Zinhle.
Can I deal with the simplest question?
Okay.
I'm also advised that our legislature is voting. You know, we are not many. So they need me to vote on an issue that needs 2/3 majority, but the parties are agreeing. I hope after answering Zinhle's question, you'll allow me to do that. I don't have to go into the House. I'll still take your questions. Yes.
Can you just maybe then marry that one?
Yeah, we can combine our questions if you want to do.
No, can I do it quickly?
Okay, that's fine then.
Yeah, they are just about to come to me. What questions? We don't know what the polygraph test questions are, and they can never tell you. You have to go through it yourself. So I don't know what questions they are going to ask. It's a science. Will extend this? Yes. It's already a national decision of the DPSA, the Department of Public Service Administration, that actually the lifestyle audits must apply to all the officials in government. And in Gauteng, we want that to happen. We have identified departments that are priorities. Health is one of them. Just priorities based on their track record. There's been too many incidents of corruption. We've identified those departments. So yes, the lifestyle audits, everything included, will extend to our officials. Already a national decision. And in Gauteng, we are prioritizing the departments that have a bad track record.
Health and which other departments?
I started with health because I've said it publicly. So the big budget departments. The big budget departments in Gauteng would be health, would be education, will be infrastructure development, it will be transport, and it will be human settlements. These are the big five. Most of the budgets are concentrated around them, and they spend a lot of money on service providers. So they would be our priority there. Security, protection of whistleblowers. I can't tell you how many, because if I do that, I'm giving away the game. But I can say to you, we're getting very, very positive indications from our officials. We in June we had all senior managers in Gauteng. We convened them, gave them a report on the state of ethics and integrity in Gauteng, department by department. So what I'm saying to you, the departments that have real big ethics issues, we gave all the officials. We said we are following up by coming to your departments. So out of that session, many officials who feel they really want to do the right things, they say, we want you to know, but we want protection. I can't, as I say, I can't tell you the number. And that's a very good thing in our province, that you have officials who say, we will not be, we won't succumb to this corrupt dealings. But we want to be protected. I have also discussed the protection of whistleblowers with Minister Lamula. As you would know, it is a national, Minister Lamula, as the Minister of Justice, is responsible for the program of whistleblower protection. I've discussed it with him. We are going to have a follow-up sit down on that, because it is a matter that we are deeply concerned about our officials in Gauteng. For us to win the war against corruption, the whistleblowers and officials who want to do the right things, service providers who want to come and say, somebody has paid a bribe, or they were trying to extract a bribe, and the officials who have witnessed things and refused, those officials need to be protected. May I vote? It will take me 1 minute.
Okay.
I'll come back.
Okay, let's take a commercial break.
That is related to the story.
No, it's only going to be one.
Just so you just want to get from particularly just color. People are waiting for another way. So if I can get
No, no,